Intensive treatment.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Intensive Treatment, where we talk about all things Arkham. Today, we're not talking about Arkham. We're talking about the critically acclaimed Penguin show that is in the Batman Epic Crime Saga. I'm warming up to that name now, but when it first dropped,
stupid name.
when it first dropped, I was really like, "What the hell is this garbage?" Now I'm just like, I accept it for what it is because it's not changing, and I'm like, all right, makes sense.
After watching this show, I could see why they would call it that. I'm like, okay,
Me too.
I can understand that. So, but it's still a stupid fucking name. Let's just get that out of the way.
They could have just called it the Batman Crime Saga.
Or just the Batman Saga. Like, it's just...
Yeah, like, it doesn't...
It's like...
But here we are, 8 episodes later, 2 months after this show dropped in September.
Yeah.
I want to start really quickly with... Before this show came out, I remember both of us were kind of, like, in the same boat with this. If you remember, we were both kind of like, yeah, we'll watch it, but we didn't really ask for this.
No.
And oh my god, how wrong was I? Like, I thought it was going to be good, obviously, because it's Matt Reeves and he had a great team behind him. But this show was incredible. Every episode was incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, like, when it was announced, I was just like we said, it was just like, yeah, it's probably gonna be good. You know, Matt Reeves. You know, I trust Matt Reeves. After I think part of it too was because we didn't really get to see a lot of Penguin in the movie, so it's just like we couldn't really connect that much to him.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, yeah, maybe like a Penguin show could be interesting. And then for months it was just like, oh, that trailer looks cool. Oh, that trailer looks cool. And then it was just when it started, it blew everybody away. And
yeah,
for weeks now I've been so busy that I haven't really had the spare time. Like when I'm not working, I'm working on videos. So I haven't really had a chance to sit down and watch the whole show. But the other night, the finale was out, and I decided, all right, now's the time for me to actually get into this and watch 6 episodes and, went to sleep. And then I watched the rest like shortly thereafter.
So the funniest part about that, guys, is that Marvel was messaging me and I had fallen asleep for a little bit. And my hours have been weird lately. So it was like 7 o'clock at night here where I am.
Yeah.
And I wake up and I get a text and he's like, I'm starting the Penguin. So I texted him back about an hour later, it must have been when I woke up. And I'm like, great, let me know. And then he texted me, he said, I just finished episode 4. Guess I'm watching episode 5.
Yeah.
And he just kept going. And then when he got to 6, he was like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to bed. And, I was surprised he got through all of that in a day. The power of Batman will do that.
In a night. It was midnight when I started watching the show, and I had my breath.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was all
legendary.
It was like maybe 4 my time when I went to bed, and I was almost tempted to watch the last 2 episodes in that same sitting, but then I realized it was like it's gonna be 6 a.m. and I may or may not go to sleep after that. So I was just like, let me go to sleep now. I'll get my few hours rest, which was like, I think 6 hours, something like that. Yeah. So 6 hours worth of sleep, and then I'll come back to it later. And originally I was going to wait till like maybe a day or 2 later just to like not tire myself out. But I was just like, I can't wait anymore. I got to finish it right now. So I did just that.
And you, I'm assuming, didn't regret doing that.
No, absolutely not.
So, when this show was announced, I remember, obviously, our initial thoughts, and everyone, I feel like most people around us were more excited than we were.
Probably, yeah.
I know Alter was, like, really excited.
I was just about to say his name. I'm glad you did, but, yeah.
I think he was the only one who was kind of I feel like I don't want to speak for him because he's not here, but I feel like he was sort of lukewarm, but he was maybe a little more excited than we were.
Yeah.
But as time went on, I kind of like forgot about it. Not completely, but you know, it was just kind of on the back burner because it was, you know, a year, 2 years away at that point.
Yeah.
And God, how quick did 2024 get here? Like, it feels like it just happened like that. And on the wait, I didn't pay attention to it. And then as time inched closer, I sort of started getting a little more hyped for it. I was like, you know what? This is cool. I'm happy. We're getting trailers. And I feel like over the course of those 2 years, I kind of not forgot, but subconsciously disconnected the show from the Batman 2022. Just because I was like, well, nothing can come to the caliber of that movie. Like, if it's a TV show, especially. And, God, episode 1. If episode 1 blew me away, then the show, like, killed me. Because all 8 episodes are fantastic. And let's get into the show. Let's start on episode 1. What were your initial feelings going in? Because when I went in, obviously, we didn't know what to expect. But it picks up right where the first movie left off.
Yeah, like it's like a week afterwards or something like that. It's pretty like within that same time frame.
Yeah, and the show does a good job at bringing us back to like familiar places. I mean, it starts off in Falcone's club in the Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah, it's a recreation of that shot from the ending monologue where we see the Penguin staring out into the window on the sunrise. And I thought that was super cool. I got a little worried because I was talking to my dad a while ago, or maybe I think he started the first episode when it came out,
right?
When he was home, and I was like, "Oh, you watched the Penguin?" It was just like, "How did you think about it?" It was like, "Yeah, it's kind of a slow, like it was kind of a slow start." I'm like, "Okay," and so when I started the first episode, there were bits of it where I was like, man, this is kind of like this is a little slow, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll pick up. And then right as the first episode ended, it was just like, you know, I can't wait to see the next one. And then it escalated and escalated and escalated, got more and more. It's just like they give you a good hook like right at the beginning, and you're just like, I gotta keep seeing where this goes. So
yeah. So episode 1 introduced a character that I was not expecting to see. Maybe it's because I didn't keep up with the news on this show as much as like maybe you did, but I completely forgot Alberto Falcone was going to be in this show. And I was glad they added him in because firstly, I don't think we've ever seen him in live action. And 2, he was such an asshole. I was so glad Oz killed him. And it started off with that. And now it makes it so that certain stories could never happen in this universe. But it's fine.
Yeah, we're not getting Holiday, so
no, that sucks.
I mean, Riddler was
kind
of like the, you know, Holiday sort of thing, but
yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so the show starts off pretty intense. Oz gets caught going through Carmine's stuff in like a secret vault in Carmine's office, and Alberto catches him, and they basically Oz de-escalates it by lying to him and saying he was getting him these documents and he was going to give them to Alberto, and we get this what starts off as a really nice scene with Oz and Alberto talking and how the family's going to be his and all this stuff, and then Oz starts to talk about this guy Rex Calabrese, who ends up being a character later on in the show who kind of is a turning point for a couple things that we'll get into later. But and Alberto says something and basically makes fun of Oz, and Oz blows him away.
Shoots him dead.
Yep. And it was the best way to sort of show us who the Penguin really is, because we didn't see that side of him in the Batman. So
yeah, not to that extent. We maybe caught a glimpse of it, like right when Falcone was, in cuffs, like
yeah, and he
taken
called him
into
a rat.
justice, and he called him a rat, and then Oz just completely lost it. But yeah, like this, where it's just like even just mentioning the name Penguin, gets him in a fury, and I like that. I like that about this version of the character.
Me too. And after that, the episode kind of is mainly just about him covering up his tracks, disposing of Alberto's body, and this young thief Victor, who's just trying to get by, is out there with his friends trying to steal the tires off of Penguin's car.
The rims off of his car.
And he's the last one standing. He gets caught, and Penguin basically makes Victor help him dispose of this body. And he was going to kill Vic afterwards. And he explains, you saw this. There's no way you might tell someone. And Vic pleads with him and basically begs him to let him live. And in return, he'll do things for him. He'll do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So Penguin gives him what he wants. He lets him live, and he basically, from this point on, is Penguin's right-hand man. And it's a nice switch off for me from like Penguin going from this right-hand man to Carmine Falcone to the situation being reversed on someone else, who in a way later on in the show we get to realize that Vic is more like Penguin than we might think in terms of their background. So that's basically episode 1. If there's stuff you want to add, go for it.
Yeah, I thought like that opening scene with Penguin and Alberto was great, and him and Vic, dumping the body in like a junkyard and stuff. There were like I could see what my dad was talking about when he was like, it was kind of slow, like certain parts after that where I'm just like, okay, I can see it's like kind of dragging a little bit, but also it's like we're introducing characters like Oz's mom and seeing his kind of day-to-day operation with the drops and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, it's fine, it's good, like it works. And then we get to meet the antagonist, or one of the antagonists of the show, which is another Falcone. Female Falcone.
And she plays a huge role in the show, and I didn't actually think upon meeting her that she was going to be that big in the show. She was basically the main character for a lot of it. And we'll get to talking about when and how that happens, but it was great to see Sophia Falcone introduced finally in live action. She's been a fan favorite of mine since I read The Long Halloween years ago.
Yeah.
And they made her hot.
I was going to say, this is a very different version of Sophia.
Yeah. She doesn't look like a piece of Italian ham. She looks like a freaking a piece of Italian ass.
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw Sophia,
she's drop dead gorgeous in this show.
Yeah, especially like, oh man, the end of episode 4, which we'll get to later.
Oh boy,
that dress. Oof. That was good.
Oh god.
Yeah.
The one in the finale too.
Ugh. Oh yeah. But yeah, seeing Sophia, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's the main bag. That's the main villain.
Yeah.
Honestly though, it's just like, because when you watch the Batman, you're not really thinking about like you're not really thinking so much about the extended family. They don't really talk about the extended family in the movie.
No.
I don't think. So
but they
it
do
was
give a good reason as to why.
yeah. But it was a nice surprise seeing not only Sophia but Alberto. I was just like, man, Alberto. It's just like,
Yeah,
they remembered who that character is.
I
But
know.
yeah, it was just nuts. And seeing how they developed throughout the series was just, it was great. But yeah, also, honestly though, it's just like with Sophia, it is a really good starting point, and then it just like you'll see as you keep watching it, just like it just escalates and escalates and escalates and gets better and better and better. But
And Sophia is the only character in this show besides maybe Vic and probably just Vic, who I genuinely like don't think is truly a bad person at their core. And especially Sophia, like she just was dealt so much shit that she turned into someone that she wasn't.
Yeah.
Which we'll discuss when we get to that episode in this episode of Intensive Treatment. But yeah, she was great, and I'm glad they introduced the Falcone family outside of Carmine.
Mhm.
And I think in Batman Begins, if I'm not mistaken, he was the only one who was in the movie.
Carmine, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
As in the Nolan movie, yeah, I think he was the only person.
And there was no
of that
references to anyone
No.
else. Yeah.
No. Yeah, no
Another
Sophia,
reason,
no
another
Alberto,
reason
no
why
nothing.
Christopher Nolan sucks. No, I'm kidding.
But should we get into episode 2?
Yeah, let's do it. You want to take
Alright.
this one?
Um,
Bro's pulling up the notes.
I mean,
No, I'm just kidding.
okay. So,
I
actually,
can if
why
you
don't
want.
you recap
Yeah, that's fine.
them?
That's fine.
I just watched these over the course of like just the last day or so, so I'm still trying to process.
Yeah.
You've had more time to do this.
Yeah.
No.
I'm low-key trying to remember what episode 2 is about.
I think this one was.
Is this when we're introduced to Maroni?
I think we meet. I don't know if we meet. Yeah, I think we meet Maroni in this one, and I think this was the one that also they had the funeral. Oh, that's right, because the end of the first episode was.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We didn't talk about that. I forgot about the freaking end of the first episode before we get into.
So the end of the first episode, they think Cobb, which is a stupid name. We'll get into that later.
That's so dumb.
Yeah. So they think Oz Cobb killed Alberto, which he did, and they find a way to pin it on someone else of him and Vic. I forget who they pinned it on, but so they get away scot-free. They find Alberto in the back of the car that they put him in at the beginning of the episode, and he has one of his fingers cut off. And so the next episode is, the family mourning his loss, but also Oz trying to make a deal with the Maroni family, or make a deal with Sal Maroni, and to try and take Falcone's family down from the inside.
Right.
So I mostly remember this episode because of the end of it, which is them during the recession, right after the funeral. They're all at the home and they're celebrating Alberto's life and whatnot. And it is a tense episode. Like, it's just Vic trying to stash the diamonds in one of the security's car. There you go to Oz goes into the basement to kill one of the informants that Maroni had to stop him from talking.
Yeah.
And he's like, Vic gets caught, so Oz has to pin something on one of the other family. It's crazy. And then by the end of it is another really tense scene with them burying the bodies, and with Oz almost killing Victor in that moment. So.
Yeah, I was actually surprised he didn't.
Yeah.
But and also this is the episode with the truck. Maybe you already mentioned it. The drugs in the truck.
The
And
heist,
the transport, yeah. And it goes terribly wrong. Penguin is almost killed. So that happened. That was everything in this episode was tense.
Yeah. Yeah, very tense. Like that's the best word to describe episode 2 is very tense.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna happen. So
yeah, and the main takeaway for me was the ending where he has this sort of discussion with Sophia, and sort of pleads his innocence and
right.
Tries to get on her good side again. But she is relentless. She sees through him every step of the way. Now she was blindsided for a little bit, but she quickly gets out of it.
Yeah.
So episode 2 is the most weary episode for me. But I feel like this was an episode that was kind of just like setting into motion episode 3 rather than being super detrimental to like the larger scope of the story. There's not like a real like nail biter ending or anything.
No. Yeah, the first 2 episodes I would say are mostly just kind of like the building blocks of the show.
Yeah.
And then I think episode 3 onward, it's like basically like a moving train. That just keeps on going and it gets faster and faster each episode.
Mm-hmm.
So episode 3 is Oz and Sophia teaming up with this new drug on the street called Bliss, made from these mushrooms. And we also get a little bit of insight into Victor's backstory.
Yeah. Which is very tragic.
It is.
For those of you that have not seen it or don't plan on watching it, which I don't know why you wouldn't plan on watching it, but
oh yeah, this is a spoiler video, by the way.
yeah. If you couldn't tell, Victor lost his family in the bombings and flooding from the Riddler in the Batman, and obviously this show takes place a week afterwards, or it starts a week afterwards. We're not exactly sure how long it takes place over as a whole. There's probably a timeline that you can go over, but all we know is it ends in the winter, which also has been confirmed. So I'm not trying to steer you weary, but so Victor lost them sometime before this during the bombings.
Yeah,
and we
like
just
he was right. He was like right in one of the blast zones. He was like right next to one of the bombs. So
yeah. And we get to see kind of before that happens his relationship with his parents. I think he had siblings.
I think he had a sister at least.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they all died. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
And we actually see the flooding hit their apartment building at full force, and we're like, yeah, they didn't survive that. There's no way.
Yeah.
So everyone Victor loved is lost, and it's almost inevitable at this point to be like, yeah, I can understand why he chose crime, because there's nothing else for him. And even if it wasn't with Penguin, he still was committing crimes with, trying to steal the rims off of a car.
That threw me a loop when I was watching the beginning of that episode, because you see Victor, he's with his girl, and he's meeting his family, and it's just like I assumed it's like, oh, okay, this is what he's doing when he's not with Penguin.
That's what I thought too.
And then you see his friend from the first episode, the one that they shoot in the head, and I'm like,
yes.
Oh, okay, I get it. Like I was. That's when I was just like clicked. I was just like, oh, okay, this is the origin of Victor. So
Batman Victor origins, yes.
My brother was sitting next to me, and he's like, "Could you imagine if he became Mr. Freeze?" I was like, "What?" Because his name's Victor, and he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh yeah." I mean, I sure. I mean, it'd be really weird with his stutter.
Yeah, what? Batman.
What killed the dinosaur?
Yeah,
that'd be hilarious.
my brother said stuff like that. I forget what he said, but my brother said, "What if he like becomes cyborg or something?" And I was like, "What?" I just started laughing. And
Cyborg.
he was like, Victor. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh, okay.
it makes a lot of sense, bro.
Sure.
In a grounded Gotham, makes a whole
Yeah.
lot of sense to have cyborg.
Yeah, this fucking cyborg just comes out of nowhere.
No, but so this episode mainly it starts off with Victor's backstory of right before the Penguin, and then we cut to the rest of the episode, which is setting up this new drug, Bliss, which, as Marvel said, it's kind of going around the streets, but Penguin wants to take this over.
Yeah.
And now he's in a rut because he's in cahoots with the Maronis, but Sophia doesn't know that. And he's also in cahoots with Sophia, so really he's a lone man just swindling both sides.
Yeah, he's playing both sides of it. And it comes to a head in the end of the episode, but
it does.
We'll get to that later.
So throughout this, we mainly are trying to figure out with Oz who a backer could be, who a distributor could be, another family. Yeah. So, is it Mr. Lau? Is that no? That's I'm thinking of the Dark Knight. What's the guy's name? Who is the head of the crime syndicate? I'm looking at the cast right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got the cast like right here. So,
okay, come on, give it to me, baby.
Come on, baby, I can do, baby.
Zhao, not Lau. Zhao.
Okay.
So, Zhao is the leader of this crime family in Gotham, and his, I would assume, right-hand man, Zinc, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He's kind of the one relaying the messages to Zhao and sort of being the middleman, and he gets Zhao to agree to meet with Sophia and Penguin after they sort of propose this idea. And
blackmail one of the other Falcone family heads to help them.
Yeah. And now, when we get to that point, she basically, Sophia, I mean, proposes this deal, and you see the kind of clashing while they're proposing this deal between her and Oz, and how he's treating it as his operation, and she's like, no. It's my operation.
What are you doing? Yeah.
So you're sort of unraveling this self-destructive relationship that they have, because obviously we all know that she knows something's up with Penguin.
Yeah.
But she's not sure, because now she thinks that Oz is in the clear of killing her brother, but she still doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they start handing out Bliss in this nightclub to show the effects, and everyone's taking them for free. And in this episode, Vic meets with his girl, and she basically says, "I'm leaving town, and I want you to you should come with me.
Yeah,
I'll get you a bus ticket." And he goes, "Okay." So secretly, he goes to do this Bliss run, and gets a text hiding in the bathroom at this nightclub, and Penguin walks in and finds Vic, and he tells him to give him the phone. And he sees it and he starts, laying it in on Vic. You gonna fucking run away from me, kind of thing. I've given you a second chance, all this. But he said, "What, do you think I was gonna kill you?" Kind of a thing. And Vic said, I thought I didn't have a choice. And Penguin said, he's had a choice the whole time.
Yeah.
And oh my God, can I just say he should have went on the damn bus.
He probably should have, yeah.
And well, there's a big reason why later.
I was talking to my brother because this was the last episode that we watched together before he went to bed, and I was like, I have a feeling that he's gonna leave at the end of the series, or Penguin's gonna be like, I don't really need you anymore, go be with your girl or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So,
He definitely Penguin definitely tells him he can leave. For sure. But so he goes to the bus station, he steals Oz's car, his really nice purple car.
Yeah.
Which honestly low-key is ugly as shit, but
if it wasn't like plum with, I mean, if it had a different color, it'd be a bit like it would look way cooler. But
yeah. But and he just sits outside looking at her from a distance and decides not to go.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, he just sealed his fate, basically.
Yeah.
He wrote off what he wanted in life.
He's in it for the long run now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so he leaves for the bus station, but also Oz and Sophia are ambushed by Sal's wife.
Who? Mrs. Like this.
Yeah.
Freaking cigar smoking cigarette woman.
Yeah, I was going to say he's smoker's lung.
Yeah.
So that happens. You cut back to Victor as he's pulling back up. You don't hear any of what happened between the conversation with the wife, Sophia, and Oz. You don't find that out until episode 5. And so Victor kills one of the guys, and him and Penguin just like leave. And it was this was a, for the most part, like it was like this episode was another kind of like building blocks ordeal, but it really like picked up. And by the end of it, ending, really made up for this episode.
Yeah. And this is kind of where the show starts to become that roller coaster of the endings just keep getting crazier and crazier, and the stuff inside the episodes is crazier and crazier.
Yeah, this was going to be my last episode. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do, because my plan was like, okay, I'll watch 3 episodes, then another day I'll watch 3 more, and then, I'll cap it off with the last 2 and then, call it. And then once that ending happened, I was like, oh, okay, I got to see what happens next. Like, I was like, okay, it's like 1 a.m. What? Like, I got to, like, let's keep this train rolling. And it did not disappoint. So.
Yeah. No, not at all. It was really good. And I love the vibe of this episode.
Yeah.
Overall. So next up is episode 4. This was a crazy ass episode.
This was Sophia's origin episode. There's we get to see Penguin in like flashbacks and stuff, but everything in the present tense is not picked up again until episode 5.
Right.
For the most part. But so this episode is basically getting into how Sophia got locked up in Arkham, which of course was her being framed by her dad.
Absolutely horrible what happened.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. It was crazy. It just
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just like before that though, it's just like you see Sophia as like this regular kind of person, and then by the end, just seeing how Arkham changed her, like it was just so drastic and awesome. But seeing her relationship with Carmine, who is not played by John Turturro this time, which made me a little sad. But Mark Strong's a pretty good replacement, I'd say.
I never felt as convinced as I did with John Turturro, as I did with. Or I'm sorry, I never felt as convinced with Mark Strong as I did with John Turturro. Now they do kind of look alike, especially for him being a younger version. It makes sense. But man, I rewatched the Batman today, just kind of like, I don't know, just to full circle everything, and I needed to rewatch it. And my God, John Turturro is so perfect in that role that I wish we had him back. He might be the best actor in that movie. And I don't mean that lightly because everyone's great in that movie. But I feel the most convinced with John Turturro. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's a shame we didn't get him back. Mark Strong was fine. And generally I love Mark Strong. I just didn't feel as convinced in this as I normally do with him. But it was fine. He was only really in one episode, this one. For
yeah,
flashback.
we see which I didn't mind. I was just like, okay, I can see why they decided to go with another actor. But yeah, even though I would have loved to see John Turturro, Mark Strong did a really good job with, being a younger kind of Carmine. So
yeah,
I'm not mad about it. But it did feel like part of it was like he was basically just doing what he did in Kick-Ass again, as playing the mob boss type. I was just like, okay, yeah, I can see where you got your inspiration from.
Yeah.
So,
all right, buddy, we see through your lies. But
so yeah, we see Sophia 10 years in the past before she's locked up. She's running this kind of organization helping out young women. Then she's approached by this reporter who at first she kind of turns away. Yeah. And then, we see a little bit of her and her dad, and also with Alberto too. Him being kind of like the party guy, which is just it's so weird.
It is
with what we know for Alberto.
He's very shy and quiet and
yeah,
kind of strange.
In this, he's like doing drugs and partying and all this other things, and yeah, that's just, it was weird, but it was cool. But so eventually, she talks to the reporter about some of the murders and stuff, which Carmine did, and also because of Sophia, like her mom's suicide, which they show, I think it's like right at the beginning of the episode or close to. She comes to realize that her dad did these things, and in turn, her dad frames her for being a serial killer known as the Hangman.
And he basically also is feeding her lies and telling her that he thinks she's going crazy.
Yeah.
And it makes me hate him so much more than anything he did in the first movie.
Yeah. Yeah. If you couldn't think he'd like get any more despicable, this was a good kind of more of an indicator for that. Like he is a vicious, vile bastard in this universe.
Yeah. Now, she's eventually obviously committed to Arkham Asylum. And I think this is where watching the first movie comes in handy if you haven't seen it and you just went into the show, because like you'd know if you watched the first movie how easy it would have been for Carmine Falcone to get his own daughter, sent to Arkham and not let out.
Yeah.
He owned Gotham. He was Gotham, basically.
Yeah.
So there's that. But when she is in there, this episode really picks up. And we sort of see this evil doctor, Dr. Ventress, who actually is Mirror Man in the comics. Which is
Mirror
kind
Man?
of, yeah, which is kind of funny. Unless it's a different Ventress. but I thought it was Floyd Ventress.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, no, it is. It is the same one. I'm reading it now.
Okay.
So it is in the comics. He is Mirror Man.
Okay.
So
I don't know why my first thought was Mirror Master, and I'm like, no, that's a different guy.
it is a different guy. I thought of that for a second too, and I'm like, no, wrong guy.
It's like, I don't know a Mirror Man. I know a Mirror Master, but not a Mirror Man.
I could hear the confusion. You were just like Mirror Man.
Mirror Man. Yeah.
But so Ventress basically subjects her to like electroshock therapy and probably a bunch of other horrible things.
It's rough seeing her in Arkham, like those
Yeah.
for that first little bit there, and by the end of it, with her murdering Magpie, which found
was
so
awesome.
I was laughing when she showed up. I was just like, oh god, Alter's gonna be talking about fucking Magpie being in this show.
I thought it was great when she got murdered because I'm like, she low-key was annoying the shit out of me.
She was, she was. I was just like, okay, yeah, she deserved that. Bash that bitch's head into the table.
That was so crazy.
There was that other girl too. The
one that bitch, that crazy bitch, fucking Joker.
She fucking stabs herself with a fork. So we haven't talked about this yet, but this is a very R-rated show.
Oh, extremely.
Like this
a lot
is
of F-bombs.
Tons of it. Like every other word, there's probably an F-bomb in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Much more violent. Like it's
incredible. It's truly the criminal world. Like this is probably as violent as you can get in a TV show like this. And they did a good job at getting that R rating for sure.
The
TVMA or whatever.
Yeah.
But so she basically, that was the turning point when she killed Magpie, is when I think she believed that she was crazy.
Yeah.
But she gave into it and didn't care anymore. So, and I think Sophia had more development than any other character in the show, and they did it so well. And if they developed her this much and don't use her in the Batman Part 2 a lot, I think it would be a misstep for them.
Yeah, she definitely, I would say, had probably, when it comes to development, she was like, it was like her then Oz.
Yeah,
that really got it. So, but yeah, I love this episode. I just at the beginning I was kind of confused on what was happening. I'm like, okay, are we just getting into the backstory? And then it went on for most of the episode. I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Just I thought if they were going to show her origins at all, it would be like quick snippets or whatever.
That's what I thought too.
I'm glad that we actually had a full episode dedicated. I mean, some people might call this filler, but I
don't think it was at all.
Yeah. Especially, I could see people saying that because it basically the main plot just kind of stops dead in its tracks for us to. But this is character development, and this is really good character development, I would say. And we also like, you don't really think about it throughout most of it because it's focused on Sophia, but we do get a little bit of Oz, like in some capacity, with him kind of working for the Falcone family, and so we get a little bit of Oz in there. But
yeah, we do.
But yeah, I thought this episode was just great. Like the origin stuff was really good and really interesting. Like seeing this version of Arkham.
Oh, it's very good. I really like this version of Arkham.
I do too,
and I hope that we get to see it as a whole, as the Batman epic crime saga goes on.
Yeah, when they talked about it, it was like, oh, doing an Arkham show. You and me had the same thing. It was just like, I don't know if that would work. Now I
would love to see it.
I would love to see an Arkham show. Especially if it was just make it Orange is the New Black in Arkham. That's all you really need.
Like, I know there's rumors, and I'm sure we'll talk about this at some point, but there's rumors of them doing a Joker show with Barry Keoghan's Joker. And I think they could just make it an Arkham show.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be about Joker, but it can be about him in Arkham. I don't give a shit about the origin.
Yeah, no, I don't know, like, I think because at this point we're kind of overexposed to Joker,
Yeah,
especially
we
when
are.
you got 2 movies dedicated to him, to a person that's not even the Joker. That's
Yeah.
complete bullshit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I personally wouldn't want. I mean, I would love to see Barry Keoghan's Joker like fleshed out, but I think making a whole show dedicated to him is not the way to go. Like if you had him in Arkham as like sort of a presence there, I think it would be much more kind of impactful.
Well, I do want to express I don't really want a Barry Keoghan Joker show, but I do know that the rumors are true, and I think if that is happening, that that's our best bet to get more Asylum, because I know that the actual Asylum show was canceled, um, which sucks.
Yeah.
But if that's our only way to see the Asylum more, then that would be cool. But I'm holding out hope that we see it in the second part of the Batman.
Or yeah, or maybe like if they do that Joker show, it could be both parts, him and Arkham, and also showing because obviously going by that deleted scene, him and Batman have some history. So maybe you could
Yes.
show like the first encounter between the two of them or something.
Yeah.
There's
Give
a
us
lot of
more Pattinson outside of the movies, please.
yeah. There's
I
some
wasn't
potential there.
I wasn't mad that he was not in this show. Spoiler, he was not in this show at all. I was hoping to get a Bruce Wayne cameo.
At least, yeah. I figured
I would
at
have been
least.
satiated with that.
But
And
I
it
did
would have
like it didn't bug for the most part, it didn't bug me that he wasn't there. What did bug me is that there's no like
he's not
besides me,
mentioned.
he's not mentioned at all. No, the Waynes aren't mentioned, like nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about like, oh yeah, this thing has happened to our city. You know, this whole part of town is a shithole. Did you know that there's a bat guy dressed as a bat going around? Like,
Well, like when Bella Royale, they had like that news story of her talking.
yeah.
She could have mentioned him at least. That the Bat Vigilante did this or did that. Whatever. Her stance on it.
Also, too, there's a lot of talk about like the rich side of Gotham, and nowhere in that mentions the Wayne family. In
I
any
know, and
capacity.
the richest family in Gotham.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a shame. That was one of the few missteps this show took, in my opinion. But it does make the ending pay off a lot.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in about 3 episodes.
So after
we're not done this episode yet. There's
after
a lot more.
After the origin, we see Sophia after she's like after the events of episode 3, and she has this whole thing with her family and basically just kills all of them.
Yeah.
In one fell swoop. Almost all of them, I would say.
Yeah, there's only 2 that survive. One is a young little girl, and the other is Johnny Vitti.
Yeah, who they blackmailed earlier. Yeah,
and she does this by poisoning the house with
leaking the gas.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole. Oh man, I was laughing my ass off when she's going around the house in a gas mask, opening the windows, and you just see their bodies lying in these spots. Like it was hilarious. But then you see her in that nice dress, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's nice too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, let's get into episode 5.
Yeah. Homecoming. So this episode is very pivotal for Oz. In this episode, the focus gets shifted back to Penguin and Victor and also the Maronis. So the whole plan for Oz is to kidnap Taj, who is Salvatore Maroni's son, as leverage, basically, to exchange the bliss they have. It was stolen from him, and to give it back. So that's the trade. During the trade, one of the guards is bribed by Oz and is sent to Blackgate to kill Maroni. And we see later that Maroni actually survives the struggle and kills the guy. So Maroni survives, but we're led to believe that he was potentially killed. Um,
Oh yeah, that guard's dead. Like,
oh yeah,
there's no doubt about it. He not only does not kill Sal, but Sal escapes in that same
yes, he
episode
does.
too.
Yeah. Now, during this trade, Penguin basically covers Taj in gasoline.
We
Now,
don't
we don't know it's
it's
gasoline.
gasoline. Yeah.
I thought it was like him torturing, like waterboarding him, or
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
making him cold because he was basically naked.
Yeah,
Um,
as soon as he pulled the lighter out, though, I was just like, "Oh no, oh
yeah.
no, oh no!"
So basically, he walks over to his mother, and Oz gets that lighter out, throws it, burns him
It le-
alive.
it leaves a trail of of gasoline from him walking over to his mom, and so he pulls the lighter out and then lights the trail on fire, and the two of
Yep.
them burn. Oh my god, that was dark. That was just crazy to see.
It was.
Yeah, just him pulling that lighter out and messing with it. I was just like, oh god, oh no, oh no.
I knew it was going to happen at that point. I was like, it's over. And when that happens, that was kind of me being like, okay, Oz is like in the shit now. This is real. He's on a bad end here because now he's got two families that want him dead.
Yeah, this is now a full-fledged war between not only those two families, but Oz caught in the middle of it.
Yeah. So Maroni survives. He escapes. So they get the bliss, but most of it was destroyed.
Yeah, they didn't keep it at the right temperature or something. Like
Right.
they let it go without keeping it at its intended temperature and stuff. So most of the mushrooms that this drug grows on are dead, except for 2 barrels. There were 2 barrels to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now after this, well, Oz is basically in a crisis here.
Yeah.
Now, during this time, Sophia is torturing Johnny VD, who she let survive the mansion massacre, and she's keeping him in like an old, I think it's an old crypt in a cemetery.
With it's in a crypt where her brother, her mom and her dad are all buried together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's basically naked, is getting poured cold water on him, and it's the middle of winter. So he is basically
not doing so hot.
No, he's not doing good. Now, he ends up deciding to back Sophia with her plan of running the family, and they're joined by Rush, who was one of the doctors at Arkham who was working on Sophia, who actually quit because he believed that she was innocent and didn't commit the things, but he's now fallen in love with her. Surprise, surprise.
He basically turns into a simp.
Oh, he's a total simp.
Yeah.
The worst kind of simp. Some simps are cool, but this is like full on like, I don't care. I will let you be like in control of me. Basically.
Yeah, this is like puppy dog, like sort of deal. Like
like you could kill me and I'd be okay with it. Basically.
Yeah, basically.
And during this, she rebrands the family name as Gigante, which was her mother's name.
Yeah.
And is basically telling all these people that worked for Carmine and Johnny VD, like, take this money. Like, you can work for me, and it won't be like it used to be. You'll matter. Yeah, you'll have a place in the family.
Yeah.
During this, Johnny VD's just like, "What the hell are you doing?" No, and then Sophia shoots him in the head.
Yeah, she kills him.
She doesn't even hesitate. So her and Maroni end up becoming allies and decide that they have to kill Oz. And during this happening, Oz is kind of panicking after he learns that Maroni escaped, and now he's really screwed because he just killed his wife and son, and now he's alive, so he's really screwed. But during this time, he finds another place underground that is the right temperature to produce these mushrooms and
Yeah.
create bliss.
Yeah.
And obviously, in between this, there's like some stuff with his mom, of her just being an absolute piece of shit person to him.
Yeah, and I think they move her, or
Yes.
maybe it's episode 6 I'm thinking of, but they move her to like the slums or like one of the destroyed parts of the flooded parts of Gotham.
Yeah, I think it's like it's said that he has to move her in this episode, but they don't actually get to the moving until the next one.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah,
But so yeah, that's basically the episode. The ending is just them finding this new spot and saying like, "All right, well, we can actually do this. We've got a new space." So,
so episode 6.
oh boy. Okay. So Oz basically at this point has a lot of manpower now. He's gotten people to join his cause, and they're distributing the bliss in the underground area that they have now.
Yeah, the snow's coming down, and I don't think we know how long it's actually been between episodes, but the
No.
operation is like moving at a very brisk pace. Like it's really up and running by now.
Yeah, but while this is going on, Sophia and Salvatore Moroni are basically finding bliss dealers and killing them as like a warning
Yeah.
to stop and to tell them that they know what's going on. So during this, Oz decides to give away the bliss for free to basically raise demand around Gotham. And everyone thought he was crazy, and people were kind of like giving him the side eye in his crew because they were like, well, we want to make money.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, Squid, after all this happened, Squid is a guy. Squid is a guy from episode 3 when we were watching Vic's backstory. He is kind of like a no good, a bad apple.
He's an asshole.
Yeah. And he basically sees Vic taking Oz's mother into this apartment building. And we get this sort of, I don't know, weird relationship shown between them of how he wants in on whatever he's doing. And I feel like Vic feels bad, but at the same time, he's like, no, I could never do this.
Yeah, he's like, he feels bad about, him kind of living in basically the Narrows, or like this universe's version of the Narrows. But at the same time, he knows he's a dick, and he like probably can't be trusted with this operation, and it doesn't go well for Squid.
No, Squid basically says if you don't get me in on this, I'm gonna expose you and your boss to whoever.
Yeah,
probably news sources, police, whatever.
Something
so
like that.
Vic makes a very quick, sort of instinctual decision to shoot him in the head. But it doesn't get shot in the head; it gets shot in the throat.
He gets shot in the jugular, so he bleeds out
and dies painfully. So, Squid's out of the way. So
there's a moment I love, which is one of my favorites between Oz and Victor, where they go. I think this is probably near the end of the episode, but they're talking and Oz picks up. It's just like, it's about Squid, isn't it? And he realizes like, oh, he killed him. It's like he's not a problem anymore. And then he just brings him in for like a hug, and he's just like, it gets easier.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah. Now, after this, we get a scene with Oz and his mother, and she basically fell in the bathtub, and Oz brings her out. She's embarrassed, and Oz makes a promise with her that he'll kill her when her condition gets to the point where it's, there's nothing you can do. She's a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
And he promises to do that. Now, after this, Oz goes out to a councilman, a corrupt one.
Yeah.
And basically, tortures him with a pair of pliers, which that shit was disturbing as hell to me because I could feel it when I was watching. I was like, that looks like one of the worst pains you could feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so he's basically grabbed the inside of his nostrils with his pliers and is squeezing and is basically telling him turn on the power to Crown Point. And that is where Oz's mother is and where Vic's neighborhood is. And he ends up doing it. So W for Penguin, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, by this point, Sophia and Sal have broken into Oz's other apartment, which is where he lives alone. Not the one that he has his mother in.
Yeah.
And they find all this stuff, and they see a picture of his brothers, but they also find panties of another woman. This woman is, I think, Eve is her name. And Sophia visits Eve, threatens to kill her, to give up Oz, but Eve ends up giving up the location because Sophia tells her the truth about how Oz knew about the killings from the Hangman, and the Hangman was really her father,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So she gives him she gives her the location. And then we get a great scene between Vic and Frances, who is Oz's mother, and they're dancing to old music.
Yeah, the power comes back on, and
Yeah.
the record player starts going again, and so the two of them are dancing. But in the doorway, you could see like a crowbar or something that Sophia has, and yeah, this was the point where in the night, this is where I stopped because I was starting to get tired. But at the same time, I was like, I could probably do like a couple more episodes, but I'm like, nah. But yeah, that ending left me like worried. I was just like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
I was like, what's gonna happen to Oz's mom? Yeah, so crazy emotions.
Yeah. Now the next episode, which now we're in the home stretch. We're in the last. Well, actually, first, what did you think of this one as a whole?
Episode 6, like really good. For me, the show just gets progressively better as the episodes keep coming out, which is the point of any show.
Yeah, that's true.
Like obviously, but this was like it starts off with episode 1, and then it gets to another level of quality each episode. Like it just gets better and better and more exciting to watch. There's twists and turns everywhere, and it's just like it's yeah, it was great, I'd say.
Yeah. I feel the same way. So episode 7, Top Hat. This episode is crazy. So it starts off, we get sort of a backstory for Oz's childhood. And we see the relationship he has with his mother and his brothers, and Oz is sort of resentful towards his brothers because his mother gives them a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And sort of treats Oz like he's nothing. Or maybe the third wheel to his brothers.
Yeah.
And on a game of hide and seek throughout Gotham, they go down into a sewer and basically tell Oz to come down and find them, and he gets upset because of his leg condition and can't climb down, so he slams the door to the sewer on them, locks them in, and a storm starts outside, and they're killed from being drowned by the water.
Yeah.
Now, part of me is like, he was a kid. Did he know that they were gonna die? Or was he just a kid that thought like he was gonna lock them in there and they'd get out at some point? But he. I
think he knew, especially when he goes home and they're watching the movie together, and you see because he looks towards the window, and he sees the pouring rain, and then he looks back at the TV and he just has this smile on his face. I think he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he
God.
meant to. I think
Meant to kill him.
he got to a point where he was so pissed with them, and he's just like, "Yeah, you're fucking dead. So
You're dead.
you're
But
dead.
it is. It's weird because if he did it on purpose, why would he get upset when people would mention his brothers in any capacity? Like, wouldn't you think that to regular people he would have just been like, "Yeah, they never treated me right. You know, my brothers."
I think that was part of the act, like the act
Really?
he was on for everyone else.
Wow.
Because they didn't want because if he was just like, man, my brothers were such assholes, I fucking killed them. Like it's just like I was so intrigued by that thinking back to it, or he spoke so highly of his brothers in the previous episodes, and then he comes to realize is like, yeah, he intentionally just murdered them.
Yeah.
So I think it was, him just trying to cover up and, his whole deal with like basically lying to everybody.
Right.
So I think that was just another part of that.
Yeah. I'm on the fence about it, but I'm leaning towards it was definitely on purpose.
Yeah.
So we see this happen, and then we finally get back to the present day. And Oz returns to the Crown Point apartment buildings and finds that both Vic and his mother are not there. Oh no, Vic is there. Vic's injured. I'm sorry.
Vic's passed. If Vic is knocked out,
yeah, and his mother is missing.
Yeah.
Now Maroney gets there, but Vic escapes before Maroney is in the room, and Penguin also tells him to go and find his mother. I think that's what he says, or does he say find manpower or something?
He says find manpower, which he comes back at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
With some of the other like family head sort of deals, like the other small time bosses.
Yeah. So. Now Maroney beats the shit out of Oz right here. He beats him up. Bad.
Beats him with a golf club.
Yeah, he does. He pulled a freaking Abby. I know, he pulled an Abby. And because of this, Oz has no choice. I mean, there's other guys there too with guns, so he has no choice but to take him to his Bliss operation area underground. So he's there. Oz's men managed to ambush Maroney and his men and cut the lights. And during this time, Maroney and Oz are kind of fighting back to back in a train car, and Maroney dies of a heart attack during this. What a way to go out. So did I.
I laughed. You know what that reminded me?
You gotta be kidding me.
I know. You know what my first thought was Child's Play 3. There's a scene where they're in the office and the leader or whatever, the head of the school, he throws Chucky into a trash, walks away, and turns around. He's gone. And then Chucky like ambushes him, like he's getting ready to kill him, and then the guy has a heart attack. And Chucky's just like, "Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me!" It's just like, that's what's happening here. So.
And that was kind of what Oz did, and he ended up shooting him a bunch of times. He was like, "That's it, that's it."
Yeah.
He goes, "I beat you."
I love it too. He's just like, "I got you. I fucking got you."
Yeah. It was the Batman car chase all over again. I got you.
Yeah, basically.
So now after this, we see that Sophia and Rush are interrogating his mother and trying to learn more about Oz and what makes him tick. And she also, during this time, or rather after it, we see this interrogation. She goes to visit the little girl who was her niece, I want to say.
Her niece, yeah.
Her name's Gia, and she's at this child's home because Gia is thinking about telling the police what she saw.
Yeah,
or
she
what
said
thinks
she saw. Yeah, she said she saw something, so they go and talk to her to make sure that she stays quiet. And yeah, that was a rough scene to get through.
It was, but it was good because that was the only scene after Sophia's kind of switched to the dark side where you see the humanity in her again.
Yeah,
And she feels bad for what she did by taking away her mother. Um, and, she basically questions whether or not she's going to do anything with this family. And she ends up deciding that she's probably just going to give over. She's going to surrender to Oz.
yeah. She comes to an epiphany, and she says that she's going to leave Gotham and give her territory, her houses to the other uh, heads of the family who but before then, before they get it, they have to bring in Oz. And
Yeah. Well, actually, before that happens, Rush basically convinces Sophia not to do it, and she wants to see Oz suffer, so she sends a bomb in her place. She made Oz think that they were doing the trade, and she actually sent a bomb in a car, which had a lot of power and basically killed all his men.
That was so crazy to me.
It was. And it imploded the ground, so the sewer systems were revealed. The operation area was destroyed.
The road above them caves in on it,
and Oz barely survived that.
Just he goes into the same water lock that he trapped his brothers in to protect himself.
Yeah, and Oz is basically knocked out by this corrupt detective who is a drophead that Sophia bribed.
Yep.
So that is the end of that episode. That was a great cliffhanger for me. Because I'm like, oh shit, how are they going to culminate this in an hour in episode 8?
Yeah.
And they did.
They did.
So, do you want to recap, or do you want to start off with episode 8? Because you did just get done watching it not too long ago. With whatever you want to go over first.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So episode 8, it begins with a little bit more. It basically going into the mother's side after her boys die. I think it flashes like she basically kind of well, it picks up from episode 7 where it ends with the two of them dancing. Like it flashes back, and there's one last memory where the two of them are at this nightclub and they're dancing, and basically Oz's mom is just like, you got to make something of yourself, and he promises her that she'll get everything she deserves, not in a Joker fashion, but so the next episode picks up with her realizing, or her talking to that mobster that Oz was talking about.
Rex Calabrese.
Rex. Yeah, she's talking to Rex, and she reveals that she knows that Oz killed her brothers. Like she found the flashlight and knows that he was there with them, and that he was the one responsible for them dying.
Ugh.
So then it cuts to present day. The two of them are at the nightclub again. That's where basically the confrontation starts with Sophia and Oz. Oz is taped to a chair, and they have Oz's mother like right across from him, and it's Sophia wants Oz to admit to the fact that like he killed his own brothers.
Yeah.
But then Oz's mom is just like, I know you killed him, you son of a bitch. Like you waste of space. Basically just like tarnishes whatever relationship they had between the two of them. And she almost gets her finger cutting off too. That was that was
gross.
Yeah, it was. Especially when you see like the indent of like how much damage they did. Oh, that was
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So the Alzheimer's kick in, and she sees.
What a way to start a sentence.
Yeah,
The Alzheimer's kick in.
the Alzheimer's kick in again. That's a whole part of it where so she's hallucinating that she's seeing her boys.
Yeah.
She passes out. Right, yeah, it just like gets to the point where she's just near death or close to it. They escape. Oz takes her to the hospital, and so everybody kind of gets away, and they get time to recuperate, and Oz and Vic meet back up with each other, and then they go to the councilman that we saw earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Oz saying that they need to pin all of this stuff on Sophia and make her basically the enemy of the people, and making Oz the champion of the people, getting him in their good graces. And then after that, they so Sophia's about to leave because she basically, I think at that point she basically is just like, I made him suffer, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
So she burns her house down, whatever was left of the Falcone estate is gone, burnt to a crisp. They the the other family they find Oz, and they call Sophia, basically being like, I have him, let's meet up so you can take him out. They meet at the airport, and it basically, they like turn the tide on Sophia. They kill all her guards. Her and Oz take a drive, kind of fly, like, it basically them talking about it's like, oh yeah, I used to be your driver, remember that? And they go out into this open space. You think Oz is going to pull the trigger and shoot her in the head, but then come to find out he left, and then the cop showed up to take her back to Arkham.
Yep.
So she's back in Arkham. She gets a letter from Selena Kyle, which we don't know the contents of, but she is reading it, and we see that Oz now is basically the king of the mountain. He's living in the high-rise apartment. His mom is basically in a vegetative state.
Wait, did you say what happened to Victor?
I was about to get to that.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Right after the scene, right after the whole Arkham thing, we learn that Oz's mom is in a vegetative state, and then there's one last conversation with Victor and Oz, and Victor doesn't make it.
No. Oz strangles him to death.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it to go down that way.
I didn't either. Like I said before, I thought like Oz was going to be like, I don't really like, he was going to find a way to basically send him off. So like, oh yeah, go be with your girl in Los Angeles or something. No, he's dead.
And he probably would have lived if he hadn't have said, "You're my family."
Yeah. Yeah.
So he said, "You're my family" in his stuttering state, and Oz went, "Fuck Vic, fuck Vic."
Yeah.
Which made me laugh. But he basically says, "You've seen me at my waist and my baste," and but you can't come with me this time, because that's the thing about family. It can be your strength, but it can also be your biggest weakness. And he starts to choke him. And what makes it even sadder is Vic's pleas, and cries for like please don't kill me. Like,
Yeah,
don't do this.
he's pleading with him as he's like slowly dying,
And it's even crazier because Penguin during this time he's like, "You're a good man, Vic. You're a good man." As his life is being taken away.
yeah,
And to think too that Vic is only like probably 20 years old.
yeah, he's yeah,
He's a kid. He's a
He's a
kid.
kid. He's a kid.
And that I'm so glad, and I've seen a bunch of people say this. So glad that not that Vic died, but that Penguin consistently through the show is a villain.
Yeah, he is he's a terrible person.
And he's not sugar-coated as an anti-hero for the show or like someone who we can sympathize with. He is an evil person who is a piece of garbage.
I love that. As much as it broke my heart seeing Victor die, I was just like, yeah, at the end of the day, Oz is a horrible human being. And he's going to do what he can to kind of keep himself at the top. So,
yeah. But let's get on to the final scene.
So Oz is in his penthouse apartment, his top floor penthouse, wearing his, his fancy tux and top hat.
He finally looks like Penguin this time around.
He does, yeah. He actually looks like Penguin. He goes into the room. His mom is there in the hospital bed, staring out the window of the high rise, and Oz is telling her, it's just like, this is everything you wanted. And so
right, Ma.
And you see a tear roll down her face. It was the most awful thing. And then
I think it's a tear of fear.
Yeah, that was definitely like fear or just absolute like sadness and stuff.
It's so funny too because right after she's tear, he goes, "I know, Ma. I know." I'm like, "Oh my God, you piece of shit."
Yeah, it's a horrible person. So he goes out into another room, and Eve is there wearing basically the same dress that his mom wore.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was the exact one.
Probably, yeah. So they're dancing together, and this is another moment which, like, just got under my skin where Oz is talking to her, and he's just like, "Tell me I did a good job. Tell me that I'm a good son.
Tell me you're proud of me.
Tell me you're proud of me." And she's
the one that got me was like, "Tell me I did it. Tell me I did it, Mom.
Tell me I did it." Yeah, so the two of them are dancing. It pans out into the night sky and the sight of Gotham, and the last thing we see is the bat signal being lit up.
Yeah. Dude, I watched with my brother, and I went, "Yes!" And I like smacked my hands together.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the perfect way to end it, especially because Eve says to him, "There's nothing standing in your way." And he's like, "I know. Goddamn right." And then it pans out, and you're just like, "No, Batman's out there, bitch." And
it's coming for your ass.
Yep. It's like that meme. Got your ass. But I hope that, I mean, I know Colin Farrell signed a 3-movie deal, so he'll obviously be in all 3, but I hope justice gets served to this piece of garbage human being.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's got some things coming for him for sure.
But that shot was great, even before the bat signal came in. How it just goes to show you how much love went into creating this version of Gotham, and the architecture that they use. It's a really cool looking building. It's huge, and then you just see the icing on the cake, the bat symbol in the sky with the snow coming down.
Yeah.
So that's the Penguin. So do you want to
full recap of the
Penguin? Literally. Do you want to go over quickly before we end your final thoughts and where you hope this goes and how you hope it leads into the Batman Part 2?
I absolutely loved the show. I just, from beginning to end, like I said, it just got better and better and better each episode, and it made me want to see more of this character and the world. of course. It makes me even more excited for the Batman Part 2. Also more excited for more spin-off type deals. Like I was kind of like we said, we were kind of apprehensive at the idea of them doing like a Penguin show.
Yeah.
But I don't care, man. Give me more of this universe. Give me an Arkham show. Give me a GCPD show. Like just I wouldn't mind more of the Reeves verse seeing it alongside the main trilogy of movies.
Just to comment on that, it's interesting because when we were kind of in the lukewarm boat of like, it's fun. We'll watch it, but we didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I can totally see why we would have said that, because at the time we got this announcement, the MCU was just releasing trash after trash show. And it seemed like everything was getting spin-offs and TV shows and unneeded extra content. And none of it was good. So when this was announced, I was just like, it's probably going to be good, but I don't care for it. And what this show has taught me is that I do want spin-offs. I just want them to be good spin-offs.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have a spin-off just for the sake of adding something to a universe. Like, this show felt like it deserved to be in this universe. And it deserves to be sort of that bridge that bridges part 1 to part 2.
Although I will say, because people have been talking about them potentially doing a season 2, I don't want a season 2. Actually, I would rather just keep this as a miniseries.
Now, if they did do a season 2, I think they should wait until after the Batman Part 2, or right before the Batman Part 2. But
I would say after.
Well, that wouldn't make sense because it's supposed to be a week before the Batman Part 2 starts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would, if they're going for the season 2, do it after. But I'm in the same boat. I don't think it needs a sequel. Please don't make a Joker 2 situation where we make a musical out of the second season of
the Penguin Folio
on the Penguin on Broadway.
Yeah.
I killed my ma, I killed my brothers, and I'm going to sing you a song about that.
The Penguin Turn Off the Dark.
But I'm so excited. Like, Marvel and I are basically in Batman heaven right now. We've got so much news coming out about the Arkhamverse, and now the Penguin's over, and I think now, especially, we have a lot to look forward to at the beginning of next year. Because part 2 starts filming, and like we're gonna have news coming through with that, and I'm just gonna be really excited. I think the DCU starting, Batman Part 2 starting production, it's gonna be really fun. So overall, this was a fantastic show. I'm glad it happened. Give me more of the Reeves-verse. I'm in the same camp as you.
Give me comics, give me video games. Like,
I don't care what it is either. Like, I'll watch a fucking civilian show of the Matt Reeves universe. It's good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And this show made me love the first movie more, especially watching them back to back. Having watched the Batman this morning. I was just like, God, I love this movie so much.
Yeah, it's been a bit since I've watched the Batman. Now I'm in a mood. Now I really want to go back and watch it again.
I was surprised because my brother and I usually don't watch movies together. It's usually episodes of TV.
Yeah.
And my brother, just like, we were on HBO Max and he just went to the movie and we looked at each other and we're like, yeah. Subconsciously, we're like, yeah, throw that shit on right now.
Yeah.
And we sat through the whole thing. So, yeah, guys, please do yourselves a favor and watch The Penguin as soon as you can if you have the ability to. Because it's a worthy successor to the Batman, and it's a worthy bridge between the gap that is going to be part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to see what this universe has in store, because there's so many routes they could take it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you want to see in part 2?
Part 2?
Whether it be Penguin-centric or not, just anything. How do you think it's going to pan out? I know a lot of people are saying Court of Owls right now.
I don't want to see the Court of Owls. That's like one of the last things I want to see with the Reeves verse.
I don't want to either, but I think they probably will.
I think one of the things I want to see just after watching this is Batman's reaction to all the shit that went down and seeing that now Penguin is the crime boss. And because when you're watching the ending of the Batman, like the movie, you see that shot of the Penguin and you have an idea like he's on the radar basically, but now it's just like it is a full frontal assault on Oz, and so I can't wait to see that dynamic and how that kind of plays out with maybe seeing not only their interaction in the nightlife with him as Batman, but maybe even in the daytime with Oz being kind of a central figure in Gotham now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be really cool.
That'd be great. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add. I'm just so excited. I'm so happy that we got this.
I can't wait now for part 2. I'm just waiting for it to be pushed forward.
Thanks, Writer's Strike, for delaying it a fucking year.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, damn, that shit hurts, especially after the show ends. It's like I was expecting, and everyone was, we're like, okay, we're gonna get this show in September, and then we have like a year in between that to wait for the Batman Part 1, and now we're like, oh, it's 2 years. Kill me now.
We can't have nice things.
No.
For this universe.
But the same thing happened with the Batman, and we got an incredible movie. So I'm hoping that the delay, maybe, you never know, maybe the delay made it so Matt Reeves was like, well, I was going to go this direction with the story, but now I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to rewrite some parts. So you never know. Maybe he had some interesting revelations. But do you want to segue us out? If we don't have anything else to say.
I think we said pretty much our piece. It's a fantastic show, and I love just about everything about it. So go watch it. Just until when this video ends, or if you've seen it already, go back and watch it again,
and then watch this video again.
Yeah, something. But yeah, I had a fantastic time. Phenomenal show. But I think that's gonna be it for this episode. Man, this was a long one.
It was a lot of fun though. We did a full recap of every episode.
Holy.
So in case you guys missed out, you guys can come right here and virtually watch the show with our voices.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
This was fun for me. I'm glad you guys stuck around if you did, and you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Discord. That will all be linked in the description below.
Watch our other podcasts, our ITTVs, which we've been really covering the news as of lately. Live streams. We just started Batman Begins for the PS2.
Yes, so that was a lot. Episode 1 was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
I can't wait to get back to that.
And I'm gonna buy the game myself and play it because I really am. I love what I'm seeing.
Guys, let us know. Let us know what you thought of the Penguin in the comments, and also we will see you guys for the next episode, whatever that might be. So, have a great night and stay locked up.
You got to say it like, stay locked up in a,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, stay locked up in a.
All right.
Let's hear his Colin Farrell.
Oh, jeez. Now you're putting me under pressure. All right. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below what you thought of the Penguin, and stay locked up.